Ambassador Kethra pressed her long fingers against the control panel for the 5th time that day. The blue lights blinked at her in the same pattern they had for 3 weeks now. No response, no signal. Nothing but empty space where human voices should be. She stepped back from the communication console and looked at her assistant, Velamon. His green skin had turned pale with worry. "Still nothing, Ambassador?" he said quietly. Earth remained silent. Kethra walked to the large window of her ship and stared out at the stars. In all her 40 years as a diplomat, she had never seen anything like this. Humans were always talking, always sending messages, always broadcasting their strange music and stories across the galaxy. Their chatter had become as normal as the hum of the ship's engines. But now there was only silence. "When did we last hear from them?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. 21 standard days ago, Velamon replied, checking his datapad. Captain Jake Martinez of the human ship Phoenix was reporting routine mineral surveys in the Kepler system. Then nothing. Kethra nodded slowly. She remembered that transmission. Martinez had sounded tired but happy. He was talking about finding rare crystals for his daughter's science project. Such a human thing to do, mixing work with family love. "What about their automated systems?" she asked. "All working perfectly. Trade shipments are still being processed. Defense satellites are online. Even their entertainment broadcasts are still running. But no one answers when we call." This made no sense. Humans were social creatures. They needed to talk, to share, to connect. The idea that all of humanity would simply stop communicating was like imagining all the stars going dark at once. "Set course for Earth," Kethra ordered. "We need to see this for ourselves." Velamon's eyes went wide. "Ambassador, the Council hasn't approved direct contact protocols." "What if this is some kind of trap?" Kethra almost laughed. "A trap? Velamon. These are humans we're talking about. They once sent us detailed plans for their most advanced weapons, just because we asked nicely. They share their technology like children sharing toys. If they wanted to hurt us, they would have done it long ago." But even as she said the words, a cold feeling crept up her spine. What if she was wrong? What if something had changed? The journey to Earth took 3 days. During the trip, Kethra tried to contact every human colony and outpost in the galaxy. The results were always the same. Systems working, lights on, but no voices, no answers. No humans. Other species were starting to notice too. The Arctanians had sent worried messages asking why their human trade partners had stopped responding. The Merons were confused about missed scientific conferences. Even the warlike Skarn were asking questions about their human military advisors. "Approaching Earth orbit now," called out Pilot Nextar from the front of the ship. Kethra hurried to the bridge. Through the main viewer, she could see the blue and green world that humans called home. It looked exactly as it always had. City. Lights sparkled on the dark side of the planet. Ships moved between the orbital stations. Everything appeared normal. "Any response to our hails?" she asked. "None, Ambassador. But their automated greeting system is still active. It's welcoming us to Earth space and offering docking instructions." "Good. Take us to Station 7. That's where the diplomatic quarters are." As their ship moved closer to the massive orbital station, Kethra felt her anxiety growing. The station was enormous, capable of housing millions of beings. She could see ships coming and going, cargo being moved, all the normal activities of a busy spaceport. But something felt wrong. "Life signs?" she asked their science officer. "Reading normal human biosignatures throughout the station. Approximately 2 million inhabitants. All appear to be healthy and active." "Then why aren't they talking to us?" "The docking process went smoothly." "Too smoothly. Usually there would be at least a dozen communication requests during approach. Port Authority checking their cargo, Customs wanting to see their documents, human friends wanting to chat. But their communication board stayed dark and silent. They docked with a soft bump. Kethra gathered her small diplomatic team and headed for the airlock. The station's gravity and atmosphere were set to comfortable levels for many species. As the airlock opened, she expected to hear the usual sounds of a busy spaceport, voices calling out, machines working, the general buzz of civilization. Instead, she heard something that made her blood freeze. Perfect silence. The corridor ahead. Of them was well lit and clean. She could see humans walking around, going about their business. But they weren't talking. They weren't making any sound at all. Even their footsteps seemed muffled, as if the very air was swallowing noise. "Ambassador," whispered Velamon, "this isn't right." A human woman walked past them. She was wearing the blue uniform of station security. She nodded politely at Kethra, but said nothing. Her eyes looked normal, but there was something strange about them. They seemed distant, as if she was seeing something far away. More humans passed by, all silent, all with that same distant look. Kethra approached one of them, a man with gray hair wearing maintenance coveralls. "Excuse me," she said in English. "I'm Ambassador Kethra from the Valonian Council. Can you help me?" The man stopped and looked at her. For a moment, his eyes seemed to focus. He opened his mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. He shook his head slowly, almost sadly, then continued walking. "Try the communication center," suggested Velamon. They made their way through the eerily quiet corridors to the main communication hub. The room was full of humans working at their stations. Screens showed data flowing in and out. Everything looked normal except for one thing. Not one person was speaking. Kethra walked up to what appeared to be the supervisor, a woman with short brown hair. "Hello," she said. "I need to speak with someone in charge." The woman turned and looked at her. Like the others, her eyes had that distant quality. She pointed to a sign on the wall. In multiple languages, including Valonian, it read, "Communication services temporarily suspended. All automated systems functioning normally. Thank you for your patience." "Temporarily suspended?" Kethra read aloud. "For how long?" The woman shrugged and turned back to her work. Kethra felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't just strange. This was terrifying. An entire species had apparently decided to stop talking to the rest of the galaxy. But why? And what did it mean for everyone else? As if in answer to her thoughts, Velamon's communicator chirped. He answered it quickly. Then his face went pale. "Ambassador," he said in a shaky voice, "we're receiving an emergency transmission from the Arctanian colony at New Geneva. They're reporting massive gravitational disturbances in their system. Something is happening to their planet." Kethra looked around at the silent humans working at their stations. A terrible suspicion was beginning to form in her mind. "Get us back to the ship," she ordered. "Now." The emergency signal from New Geneva cut through space like a scream. Commander Lisa Stone grabbed the edge of her command chair as the Centauri defense platform shook from the gravitational waves washing over them. She had been a human military advisor here for 3 years, working with the Arctanian Defense Force. In all that time, she had never seen readings like this. "Report." She called out to the bridge crew. Lieutenant Zaxmo, an Arctanian with blue scales and worried eyes, turned from his sensor station. "Commander, the gravitational distortions are getting stronger. They're coming from the direction of New Geneva." Lisa felt her stomach drop. New Geneva was supposed to be her next assignment. She was scheduled to take a transport there tomorrow to help set up new defense systems. 200 million Arctanians lived on that peaceful world. It was their most important colony after their home world. "Show me the readings," she ordered. The main screen filled with sensor data. It made no sense. Space itself seemed to be bending and twisting around New Geneva's star system. The numbers were impossible. According to these readings, the planet's mass was fluctuating wildly, as if reality couldn't decide whether New Geneva existed or not. "Get me a visual on the planet," Lisa said. The screen changed to show empty space. Where New Geneva should have been, there was nothing. Not debris. Not a destroyed world. Just empty space with a few confused asteroids drifting where a planet used to be. "That's impossible," whispered Zaxmo. "Planets don't just disappear." Lisa stared at the screen. She had been to New Geneva many times. It was a beautiful world with crystal blue oceans and floating cities that sparkled like jewels. Children played in anti-gravity parks while their parents worked in the underwater farms. It had been a perfect example of Arctanian civilization. Now, it was gone, not destroyed, simply gone, as if it had never existed at all. "Try scanning for any trace of the planet," she ordered. "Debris, energy signatures, anything." The crew worked frantically at their stations. Minutes passed. Finally, Zaxmo looked up with confusion written across his face. "Commander, there's nothing. No wreckage, no energy traces, no signs that a planet was ever there. Even the gravitational effects that should remain are gone. It's like New Geneva never existed." Lisa felt cold fear creeping up her spine. This was beyond any weapon she knew about. Even the most powerful bombs left something behind. This was like someone had reached into reality and simply erased an entire world. "Send an emergency message to the Galactic Senate," she ordered. "Priority 1. Tell them what we've seen." As Zaxmo worked on the message, Lisa tried to think. What could make an entire planet disappear? And why now, just when humanity had gone silent? The timing couldn't be a coincidence. Her communicator buzzed. "Commander Stone, this is Captain Jake Martinez of the UCS Phoenix. Do you copy?" Lisa's heart jumped. A human voice. She grabbed her communicator eagerly. "Jake, thank the stars. Where have you been?" "We've been trying to reach Earth for weeks." There was a long pause. When Martinez spoke again, his voice sounded strange, distant. "Lisa, I need you to listen carefully. Something is happening. Something big. The compact has been broken." "What? Compact? Jake, what are you talking about?" "The protection is being withdrawn. The barriers are failing. You need to warn them." "Warn who?" "Jake, you're not making sense. The others. The ones who don't understand. Tell them to choose wisely. Time is running out." The signal cut to static. Lisa stared at her communicator. Jake Martinez was one of the most straightforward people she knew. A simple ship captain who loved exploring and finding new things. He never spoke in riddles. But that voice had sounded like him speaking someone else's words. "Commander," called out another officer from across the bridge. "We're receiving reports from other sectors. The Galactic News Network is broadcasting emergency alerts." "Put it on screen." The main viewer changed to show a Valonian news anchor. Her face was tight with fear as she read from her datapad. "This is Galactic News with an emergency report. The ocean world of Tidal, home to 12 million Aquari, has vanished from normal space. The planet disappeared approximately 1 hour ago, leaving no trace. This follows similar reports about the Arctanian colony of New Geneva, which disappeared earlier today." Lisa felt the blood drain from her face. 2 worlds. 2 entire worlds had just stopped existing. The news anchor continued. "Galactic authorities are investigating, but no explanation has been found. Both worlds showed massive gravitational disturbances before disappearing. We will continue to monitor this developing situation." The bridge fell silent except for the humming of the station systems. Lisa could see the fear in every face around her. This wasn't war. This wasn't invasion. This was something far worse. "Commander," said Zaxmo quietly, "both of those worlds voted against human colony expansion last month. They were part of the group that rejected humanity's request for mining rights in the Outer Rim." Lisa's blood turned to ice. She remembered those votes. The Galactic Senate had been debating whether to grant humans access to more systems for colonization. Many species had voted no, saying humans expanded too quickly and took too many resources. But surely that couldn't be connected to this. Humans didn't have weapons that could make planets disappear. The technology didn't exist. At least she didn't think it existed. Her communicator buzzed again. This time it was a general broadcast from the Galactic Defense Network. "All ships and stations. This is Admiral Korvik of the Scarran Hegemony. We are implementing emergency protocols immediately. All human personnel are to be confined to quarters pending investigation. Any human ships are to be intercepted and boarded. This is by order of the Emergency Security Council." Lisa looked around the bridge. The Arctanian officers were staring at her with new expressions. Not fear of the situation anymore. Fear of her. "Commander Stone," said Zaxmo carefully, "I'm going to have to ask you to surrender your weapons and come with us." "You think I'm responsible for this?" Lisa asked, shocked. "You think humans can make planets disappear?" "We don't know what humans can do anymore," Zaxmo replied sadly. "Your people have gone silent. Worlds that opposed you are vanishing. What are we supposed to think?" Lisa slowly unbuckled her sidearm and placed it on her chair. She understood their fear, but it hurt. These people had been her friends, her colleagues. Now they looked at her like she was a monster dot. As security officers escorted her off the bridge, Lisa's mind raced. If humans were somehow responsible for the disappearing worlds, it was with technology beyond anything she knew about. But if they weren't responsible, then something else was out there. Something that could erase entire planets from existence. Either way, the galaxy had just become a much more dangerous place. Her last thought before the security door closed was of Jake Martinez's strange words. "The compact has been broken. The protection is being withdrawn." What protection? And if it was being withdrawn, what horrors might be coming next? In the depths of space, sensors on a dozen worlds detected new gravitational anomalies. More distortions. More signs that reality itself was beginning to bend and break. The dying had only just begun. General Alex Thompson floated in zero gravity aboard the research station Omega-7, staring at data that made his head hurt. He was one of the few high-ranking human officers who had been off-world when the silence began. Now he found himself leading a joint investigation team that included some very nervous alien allies. "Show me the pattern again," he said to Dr. Ben Carter, the human scientist who had first detected the gravitational anomalies. Ben pulled up a holographic display, showing the galaxy. Red dots marked where worlds had vanished. 5 planets so far, General. New Geneva, Tidal, Dust Bowl Prime, Crystal Falls, and yesterday, Garden World. All gone without a trace. Velteran investigator Zix clicked her mandibles nervously. She was insect-like, with multiple arms and compound eyes that missed nothing. All these worlds had one thing in common, she said in her clicking voice. They all voted against human interests in the last Galactic Senate session. "That's what scares everyone," added Dr. Quintal, a Miran scientist whose purple skin showed. "Stress patterns. The timing is too perfect to be coincidence." Alex studied the pattern. He wanted to deny it, but the evidence was clear. Every world that disappeared had recently opposed human expansion or trade deals. But Alex knew his own species. Humans were many things: stubborn, aggressive, sometimes foolish, But they weren't monsters who had killed billions of innocent people. There has to be another explanation, he said. Humans don't have technology that can erase planets. Hell, we barely figured out faster than light travel 50 years ago. Maybe you've been hiding things, Zix suggested carefully. Your species has always been secretive about your military projects. Before Alex could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the station. Dr. Carter rushed to his sensor console, his face pale. General, we're detecting a ship. It's the Phoenix, Captain Martinez's vessel. It's just appeared out of nowhere. Through the station's viewing port, they could see a human exploration ship drifting silently in space. It looked normal, except for one thing. It was glowing with a faint blue light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Are they responding to communications? Alex asked. No, sir. But they're alive. I'm reading life signs for all 30 crew members. They appear to be conscious, but inactive. Alex grabbed his spacesuit. I'm going over there. General, that might not be wise, Zix warned. If humans are responsible for the disappearing worlds, that ship could be dangerous. My people are on that ship, Alex said firmly. I'm not abandoning them. An hour later, Alex floated through the Phoenix's airlock with Ben and a small team. The ship's corridors were lit and warm, but eerily quiet. They found the crew in the main lounge, sitting perfectly still with their eyes closed. They were breathing normally, but none of them responded to voices or touch. Captain Jake Martinez sat in the center of the group. Alex knelt beside his old friend and checked his vital signs. Everything appeared normal. Jake, Alex said softly, can you hear me? Martinez's eyes opened suddenly, but instead of his usual warm brown, they glowed with the same blue light that surrounded the ship. When he spoke, his voice sounded like multiple people talking at once. General Thompson, you have come to seek answers. Jake, what happened to you? What happened to your crew? We are no longer just ourselves. We have been connected. We have been shown the truth. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. Connected to what? To the network. To the ancient duty. To the knowledge that your species has forgotten. Dr. Carter stepped forward with his scanner. General, I'm detecting strange neural activity in all of them. Their brain patterns are synchronized, like they're sharing a single consciousness. Martinez stood up smoothly, his movements too perfect, too coordinated. The compact was made long ago. Humanity was chosen to be the guardians. But the galaxy has rejected us. The protection is being withdrawn. What protection? Alex demanded. Guardian of what? The barriers between realities. The walls that keep the Devourers from entering this dimension. Zix clicked nervously. Devourers? What are Devourers? Martinez turned his glowing blue eyes toward her. Entities that exist in the spaces between worlds. They consume reality itself, erasing all trace of what once was. For centuries, human consciousness has held them back without knowing it. Alex felt the pieces clicking together in his mind. You're saying humans have been protecting the galaxy from something, and we didn't even know it? The human mind is unique. It exists partially outside normal space-time. Your species was modified long ago by those who came before. You were made to be anchors, holding reality stable in this region of space. Ben looked up from his scanner. General, I'm detecting massive quantum fluctuations throughout human space. It's like the fabric of reality is becoming unstable. Martinez nodded. The network is damaged. Too many humans feel rejected, threatened. The collective unconscious is withdrawing its protection. The barriers are failing. And that's what's happening to the planets. Alex asked, they're being consumed by these Devourers? The worlds that vanished were not destroyed. They were consumed, erased from existence as if they never were. The Devourers feed on reality itself. Suddenly, the lights in the ship flickered. Through the viewing port, Alex could see space itself seeming to ripple and bend. In the distance, something that hurt to look at was moving toward them. "What is that?" Zix whispered. Martinez's expression became urgent. "A devourer. It has found us. Everyone stay very still. Do not think about existing. Do not draw its attention." The thing approaching them was impossible to describe. It looked like a hole in space, but not empty. It was full of something that wasn't quite nothing. Where it passed, stars simply stopped being there. Not destroyed, not exploded, just gone as if they had never existed. Alex held his breath as the entity drifted past their ship. He could feel his mind trying to slide away from acknowledging what he was seeing. His brain wanted to forget the thing existed, as if recognizing it would somehow make him vulnerable to it. After what felt like hours, the thing moved away and disappeared into the cosmic dark. "How many of those things are out there?" Alex asked in a shaky voice. "Thousands," Martinez replied. "Millions. They exist in the void between realities, always hungry, always trying to break through. Only the human network has kept them out." "But why is the network failing now?" "Because humanity feels unwanted, threatened. The galactic community has made it clear that humans are not welcome as equals. The ancient programming is responding to this rejection." Dr. Carter looked at his readings. "General, if this is true, then the more humans feel isolated and threatened, the weaker the barriers become." Alex understood the horrible irony. The galaxy's fear of humanity was causing the very thing they were afraid of. By treating humans as dangerous, they were making the protection fail. "What can we do?" he asked. Martinez's blue eyes seemed to look right through him. "The choice must be made. Either humanity is accepted as the guardians they were meant to be, or the protection will be completely withdrawn. But know this, once it fails entirely, there will be no bringing it back." As if to emphasize his words, an alarm sounded from the station. Dr. Carter's communicator crackled to life. "Emergency alert. The mining world of Stone Ridge has just vanished, and we're detecting more gravitational disturbances in the Vega system." Alex closed his eyes. Time was running out, and he wasn't sure the galaxy would believe the truth even if he told them. Outside the ship, reality continued to bend and warp as ancient barriers grew weaker by the hour. Dr. Amy Foster knelt beside the ancient stone table, her hands shaking as she brushed away thousands of years of dust. The ruins on this dead world in the void sector were older than any civilization in the galactic records. But what made her heart race with the symbols carved deep into the stone, symbols that matched the neural patterns she had found in the Phoenix crew. "Ben, you need to see this," she called to Dr. Carter, who was scanning another section of the massive underground chamber. General Thompson stood nearby, his face grim as he studied the alien architecture. 3 more worlds had vanished while they were traveling here. The Galactic Senate was in chaos. Half the member species wanted to declare war on humanity. The other half wanted to evacuate to distant galaxies. Ben hurried over with his scanner, buzzing frantically. "Amy, these readings are incredible. This place is giving off the same quantum signatures as human brainwaves, but amplified 1,000,000 times." Amy pointed to the symbols. "Look at these carvings. They're not just decorations. They're neural maps, brain patterns. And they match what I found in Jake Martinez and his crew." Zix clicked over on her multiple legs, her compound eyes reflecting the light from their portable illuminators. "You think whoever built this place did something to human minds?" "Not just did something," Amy said, her voice filled with awe and horror. "They created humans. Or at least, they modified whatever humans used to be." She activated her portable display, showing brain scans from the Phoenix crew alongside the ancient carvings. The patterns were identical. "These symbols tell a story," she continued. The beings who built this place called themselves the architects. They were fighting something. Something that came from outside normal reality. General Thompson moved closer. The Devourers? Yes, but not just them. According to these records, the Devourers are just the scouts. The advance guard for something much worse. Things that exist in the spaces between universes, feeding on reality itself. Ben translated more symbols using the enhanced linguistic programs from the Phoenix crew's networked minds. It says here that the architects tried these entities directly, but they couldn't. Physical weapons don't work against beings that exist outside spacetime. So, what did they do? Thompson asked. Amy traced her finger along a series of carvings that showed figures transforming. They changed themselves, made themselves into living anchors for reality. Their consciousness became a net that held spacetime stable, keeping the Devourers out. But something went wrong, Zix observed, looking around at the dead ruins. Yes, the architects became so focused on their task that they lost their individual minds. They became a collective consciousness dedicated only to maintaining the barriers. Eventually, they couldn't function as a civilization anymore. Ben's scanner chimed with a new discovery. There's more here. A record of what happened after the architects faded away. The barriers began to weaken. More Devourers started breaking through, so they created a replacement. The walls around them suddenly lit up with ancient technology, projecting holographic images of a blue-green world. Earth, Thompson breathed. The hologram showed the early development of humanity, but it wasn't natural evolution. The images clearly depicted architect technology, modifying human DNA, altering their brain structure, connecting them to vast networks of consciousness. Humans were designed to be the next guardians, Amy said quietly. But the architects learned from their mistake. They made the protection unconscious. Humans could live normal lives, while their minds unknowingly maintained the barriers between realities. Until now, Thompson said grimly. Zix's mandibles clicked nervously. What changed? Why is the system failing? Amy consulted more of the ancient records. The protection depends on humanity feeling secure and valued. When humans feel threatened or rejected, their unconscious minds start to withdraw the protection. It's a survival mechanism. If the galaxy doesn't want humans, then humans stop protecting the galaxy. Ben looked up from his scanner with alarm. General, I'm detecting massive quantum disturbances throughout this sector. The barriers are failing faster now. As if summoned by his words, the space outside the ruins began to ripple and bend. Through the ancient windows, they could see reality, itself starting to come apart. Stars blinked out of existence. Space folded in on itself. And in the growing voids, things that shouldn't exist began to move. We need to get back to the ship, Thompson ordered. But as they ran through the corridors, Amy couldn't stop thinking about what she had learned. The architects had tried to create the perfect protection system, but they hadn't accounted for politics. They hadn't considered that other species might fear their guardians. Back aboard their ship, they watched in horror as more readings came. The industrial world of Prime Forge had vanished. The beautiful crystal cities of Lumina were gone. Billions of lives erased from existence as if they had never been born. How many humans are left in the network? Thompson asked. Ben checked his readings from the Phoenix crew's enhanced minds. About 60% of humanity has joined the collective consciousness now, but it's not enough. The barriers need all of human consciousness working together to hold. And the other 40%? Scared, angry, feeling hunted by the very people they've been protecting. Every time another human gets arrested or threatened, more join the network to escape the pain. Amy understood the terrible irony. The galaxy's treatment of humanity was forcing more humans to abandon their individual consciousness and join the ally. Protective network. But the humans joining weren't doing it willingly. They were fleeing from fear and rejection. Consciousness forced into the network doesn't work as well as consciousness that chooses to be there, she explained. The protection is getting weaker even as more humans join. Through their communication system, they received an emergency broadcast from the Galactic Senate. The Skarn hegemony had declared humans an existential threat and was mobilizing their entire fleet. Other species were choosing sides. Some wanted to negotiate. Others wanted to evacuate. A few wanted to attack Earth directly. They still think humans are causing the disappearances, Zix said sadly. They don't understand that. Humans are the only thing standing between them and complete annihilation. Thompson activated the ship's communication array. This is General Alex Thompson to all Galactic Senate members. I have urgent information about the planetary disappearances. Humanity is not the cause. We are the solution. The response was immediate and hostile. Admiral Korvik of the Skarn appeared on screen, his lizard-like face twisted with anger. General Thompson, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Human terrorist activities have claimed over a dozen worlds. We will not allow this genocide to continue. Admiral, listen to me. The disappearing worlds are being consumed by entities from outside our reality. Humans have been unconsciously protecting the galaxy from these beings for centuries. The protection is failing because humans feel threatened and unwanted. Korvik's eyes blazed. More human lies. You expect us to believe that your species are secret guardians? That you've been protecting us while we didn't know it? It's the truth. I can prove it. The only truth is that worlds started dying when humans went silent. Surrender now, or we will use force. The communication cut off. Thompson looked around at his mixed species team. Amy could see the despair in his eyes. They won't listen, he said quietly. Fear has made them deaf to reason. Outside their ship, another star simply stopped existing. In the growing darkness between realities, hungry things that had waited eons for this moment began to move toward the galaxy's heart. Time was running out, and the only people who could save everyone were being hunted as monsters. The emergency session of the Galactic Senate was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from 200 species filled the great chamber on Nexus Prime, their voices raised in fear and anger. Above them, a holographic display showed the growing void where 23 worlds had once existed. Captain Maria Santos stood in the center of it all, her mind still partially connected to the human network that was desperately trying to hold reality together. She had been chosen to speak for humanity because she could still function as an individual while maintaining the connection. But every moment of separation from the collective consciousness felt like tearing herself apart. Honored delegates, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber despite the chaos. I stand before you not as a threat, but as a warning. Every moment you delay, more barriers fail. More worlds will be consumed. Senator Korth of the Skarn hegemony slammed his scaled fist on his podium. Lies! Your species has already murdered billions. We will not be fooled by your deceptions. Maria closed her eyes and reached out through the network. She could feel the minds of millions of humans linked together, their consciousness stretched thin as they fought to maintain barriers that were older than civilization. She could sense their exhaustion, their pain, their growing despair. I can show you the truth, she said quietly, but you have to be willing to see it. Through her enhanced connection to the Phoenix crew's modified minds, Maria projected images directly into the chamber's display systems. The delegates gasped as they saw space itself from the perspective of the human network. Reality appeared as a vast web of light, with dark holes growing larger where the barriers had failed. And in those holes, things that hurt to look at moved with hunger that had waited eons to be satisfied. These are the devourers, Maria explained. as the images showed creatures that existed between dimensions. They feed on existence itself. When they consume a world, it doesn't just die. It ceases to have ever been. Everyone who lived there, every memory of them, every trace of their existence is erased from reality. Ambassador Valinus of the Aquarii delegation stood slowly. Her blue skin was pale with fear. But why haven't we seen them before? Why is this happening now? Because humans have been holding them back without knowing it. Our consciousness exists partially outside normal space-time. We've been unconscious guardians for your entire recorded history. The chamber erupted in voices. Some delegates shouted in disbelief. Others demanded proof. A few sat in stunned silence as they began to understand the implications. Prime Minister Zara of the Valonian Council raised her hand for silence. Captain, Santos, you claim your species has been protecting us. But worlds only began disappearing after humans went silent. How do you explain that? Maria felt another world die as she spoke. The forest planet of Greenhaven had just been consumed. 50 million inhabitants erased from existence. She could feel the human network struggling to compensate, more individual minds joining the collective to try to fill the gaps. The protection depends on humans feeling valued and secure, she explained. When the galaxy began to treat us as threats, our unconscious minds started withdrawing the protection. It's not something we can consciously control. It's built into our genetic structure. Senator Korth stood again, his yellow eyes blazing. So you hold us hostage. Accept human dominance or watch the galaxy die. It's not dominance we want, Maria said desperately. It's partnership. Recognition that we're part of this galactic community, not enemies to be destroyed. She paused as another wave of pain washed through the network. More humans were joining the collective, but they were coming in fear and anger. Their negative emotions were making the barriers weaker, even as their numbers grew. But it may already be too late, she admitted. Too many humans feel hunted and rejected. The network is becoming unstable. Even if you accept us now, the damage might be irreversible. Through the chamber's sensors, she could feel the approach of something massive. The readings were similar to a devourer, but much larger. Much hungrier. Dr. Amy Foster's voice crackled through Maria's communicator. Captain, we're detecting something unprecedented. It's not just one devourer. It's like they're combining into something bigger. Maria shared the sensor data with the chamber's display. What they saw made several delegates cry out in terror. Dozens of individual devourers were merging together, creating a void in space that was growing exponentially. This combined entity was heading straight for the core worlds of the galaxy. The Master Devourer, Maria whispered, the knowledge flowing through the network to her mind. The ancient records spoke of this. When enough barriers fail, the smaller entities combine into something that can consume entire star systems at once. Senator Korth's face had gone pale beneath his scales. How long until it reaches populated space? 3 days, maybe less. And when it arrives, it won't just take one world at a time. It will erase entire solar systems. Whole sectors will cease to exist. The chamber fell silent, except for the humming of the life support systems. Maria could feel the weight of their fear, their desperation, their slowly dawning understanding that everything they had believed was wrong. Prime Minister Zara spoke first. What would it take to restore the barriers? Full recognition of humanity as the Galactic Protectorate. Authority over defense and colonization matters. But most importantly, genuine acceptance. The human consciousness can sense deception. If the galaxy only pretends to accept us out of fear, it won't work. And what happens to individual humans if we agree? Asked Ambassador VEL ;NUS. Maria felt tears running down her face as she answered. Most of us are already lost. 70% of humanity has joined the collective consciousness. They exist only to maintain the barriers now. Their individual personalities are fading. She could feel it happening to herself as she spoke. The network was calling to her, offering peace and purpose instead of the pain of individual existence. It would be so easy to let go, to become part of something larger. The few of us who remain individual will serve as bridges between the collective and the galaxy, but will always be connected, always partially lost to the network. Senator Korth looked around the chamber, seeing the same fear and desperation in every face. What guarantee do we have that humans won't use this power against us? The same guarantee you've always had, Maria replied. Human nature. We could have conquered the galaxy centuries ago if we wanted to. Instead, we shared our technology, formed alliances, tried to build something better together. The network doesn't change that. If anything, it makes us more focused on protection, not conquest. As if to emphasize her words, alerts began sounding throughout the chamber. The mining colony of Iron Ridge had just vanished. The research station at Deep Space 7 was gone. The Master Devourer was accelerating, consuming everything in its path as it grew larger and hungrier. Vote now, Maria said urgently. In 12 hours it may be too late to matter. The delegates looked at each other with the weight of their entire civilization resting on their shoulders. Outside the chamber, space itself was coming apart as ancient barriers failed one by one. Time was running out for everyone. The vote came with less than 6 hours to spare. As the Master Devourer consumed its way through the outer rim, turning entire star systems into empty void, the Galactic Senate finally acted. The resolution passed by a narrow margin. Enough. Species were terrified enough to accept what had once been unthinkable. General Alex Thompson stood in the Great Hall of Nexus Prime as Prime. Minister Zara read the historic declaration. Her voice shook as she spoke words that would reshape the galaxy forever. By emergency resolution of the Galactic Senate, humanity is hereby recognized as the Galactic Protectorate, with full authority over interstellar defense and colonization matters. All member species acknowledge human guardianship and pledge cooperation with the new order. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy, but Alex felt no triumph. The cost of this victory was written in the faces around him. Captain Maria Santos stood nearby, her eyes already showing the distant look of someone partially lost to the network. Dr. Ben Carter had joined the collective entirely 3 hours ago, his individual consciousness absorbed into the vast Guardian, mind that was desperately trying to rebuild the barriers. Through the network connection that all remaining individual humans now shared, Alex could feel the change beginning. The barriers between realities started to strengthen. The Master Devourer, which had been only hours away from reaching the core worlds, slowed its advance as space-time itself became more solid around it. But the price was becoming clear. Earth was now a world of silent guardians. Billions of humans stood motionless in cities around the globe, their minds linked in the greatest collective consciousness in galactic history. They were alive, but no longer truly individual. Their personalities had merged into something larger, something focused entirely on the ancient duty of protection. How many of us are left? Alex asked Maria quietly. Perhaps a few thousand, she replied, her voice carrying the strange harmony that came from being partially connected to millions of other minds. Just enough to serve as bridges between the young, collective, and the rest of the galaxy. Senator Korth of the Skarn approached them, his proud demeanor replaced by something like shame. General Thompson, I owe you an apology. My people... We didn't understand. Alex looked at the former enemy, who had wanted to destroy humanity just days before. Understanding came at a high price. 27 worlds are gone forever, billions of people erased from existence. And most of your species has sacrificed their individuality to save us, added Ambassador Velinus, her blue skin showing patterns of deep sorrow. How do we live with that knowledge? The same way humans will live with it, Alex replied, one day at a time. Over the following months, the new reality settled into place. The galaxy was safe, but it was a different galaxy. Human colonies were established on strategic worlds throughout space, their populations serving as anchor points for the reality barriers. These humans lived normal lives, but they were all connected to the network, their consciousness partially dedicated to the guardian duty. Alex found himself serving as humanity's primary representative, working with the galactic government, to manage the new order. It was strange to have so much authority. Species that had once looked down on humans now treated them with a mixture of respect and fear, but Alex knew the truth that kept him awake at night. Dr. Amy Foster, in her final research before joining the collective, had made a terrifying discovery. In the ancient architect records, this cycle had repeated throughout galactic history. Every few million years, a species would be chosen or created to serve as guardians. They would protect their galaxy for a time, then eventually be replaced when the barriers needed to be rebuilt or expanded. The architects themselves had once been guardians for an even older cycle. Before them, there had been others. And somewhere, in the vast darkness between galaxies, other guardian species maintained barriers against threats that made the Devourers look small. Alex stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above Earth, looking down at his transformed homeworld. The planet peaceful from space, but he knew that billions of human minds were working constantly to maintain the invisible barriers that kept reality stable. Captain Jake Martinez visited him sometimes. Jake was still himself in many ways, but his connection to the network was stronger than Maria's or Alex's. When he spoke, it was often with the voice of the collective. "The barriers are strong now," Jake said as he joined Alex at the window. "Stronger than they've been in millennia. The Master Devourer has been pushed back to the void between realities. The small devourers can no longer break through." "For how long?" Alex asked. "Long enough. Perhaps 1,000,000 years. Maybe more. The network grows stronger as more humans are born into it. Each generation will be more connected, more focused on the duty." Alex thought about that. Human children born now would never know true individuality. They would grow up as part of the collective, their minds linked to the vast guardian consciousness from birth. In a few generations, the distinction between individual humans and the network would disappear entirely. "Do you regret it?" Alex asked, "Losing yourself to become something else?" Jake was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of millions of minds. "I remember being individual. I remember the loneliness, the confusion, the constant struggle to understand my place in the universe. The network is ... peaceful. Clear. There's no doubt about purpose or meaning. But you're not really Jake Martinez anymore." "I'm more than Jake Martinez now. I'm part of something greater." "We all are." Alex nodded, but the sadness remained. Humanity had saved the galaxy, but at the cost of becoming something fundamentally different. They were no longer a species of individuals struggling to find their way. They were guardians, watchers in the dark, protectors of realities they might never fully understand. As Alex prepared to leave the station, Jake spoke one final time with words that would become humanity's new motto. "We stand guard in the dark, so others may dream in the light." The galaxy was safe. Trade resumed between worlds. Civilizations rebuilt and grew. Children played under alien suns while their parents worked and loved and hoped for the future. Art and music flourished. Science advanced. Life went on. And in the space between spaces, in the darkness beyond the edge of reality, ancient hungers waited patiently for their next opportunity. They had waited before. They could wait again. But as long as humans maintained their watch, As long as the network held strong, the galaxy would continue to exist. The cost had been paid. The compact was renewed. The humans had not gone quiet by choice. They had gone quiet because someone had to listen to the silence between worlds and make sure nothing else came through. In the end, that was enough.